Mr. Mayor, you may begin.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. So in honor of today being May the 4th, 2021, we're going to open the meeting slightly differently. Thank you to Dane Bora and the staff at CMTV for that. And of course, may the 4th be with you. Okay, so without further ado, tonight's Star Spangled Banner performance features Newport Harbor High School 11th grader Kennedy Givens, a singer, actor, and songwriter. Kennedy has been involved in the Newport Harbor vocal music program for 2 years. She's had roles in several shows at Newport Harbor and has been a featured soloist at many campus events, and during the quarantine summer was featured on ABC 7 for her famous front yard concerts at her house. In her spare time, Kennedy writes music and is president of the Newport Harbor Keep the Arts Alive Club. As always, special thanks to Newport Harbor High School vocal director Jeffrey Laydon for introducing us to these talented singers. Now, please join me in standing for our national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led today from District 1 Councilmember Don Harper.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Councilmember Harper,
Yeah, I pledge allegiance
to the flag.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Harper, and thank you, Kennedy, for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem. Now it's time for a moment of solemn expression, led by Pastor Wallington from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Ms. Green, please take Pastor Wallington off mute to lead the moment of solemn expression.
Can you hear me? Wonderful.
Yes.
As we come to a moment of reflection, may we take this moment to see the human beings in which we lead. As we take this chance to come to you, Lord, as people of many different walks of not only faith, but of faithfulness. We come to you knowing that there is much to learn, much to grow in, and much to receive. So we pray for these leaders who have dared to be leaders in this time and space of not only a pandemic, but a necessity to see humanity for what it is. So guide us, Lord, as this group of people come together out of hope to grow together, out of hope to reflect together, and out of willingness to listen to one another. Be with each communication here so that the sincerities of the heart are shown and the understanding and the ears opened. We love you, Lord. We pray you come close to these many members and their families as they continue to lead our community. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, would you please do the voice roll call?
Councilmember Chavez,
Present.
Councilmember Gameros,
Present.
Councilmember Harlan,
Here.
Councilmember Harper,
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Here.
Mayor Stevens.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, very much. Now we're going to go to the closed session report. And Ms. Barlow, our city attorney, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and to the public. We had an item on the closed session agenda this evening that was related to the project that is on our public hearing item. We received late last week a communication relating to alleged conflict on the part of Councilmember Harper relating to the project due to campaign statements that were made. We had also been asked the city attorney's office to provide an opinion regarding the potential conflict of Councilmember Harlan on the same project due to the fact that he was on the Planning Commission when it was previously considered. As a result of the kind of lateness with which these issues came up and were communicated to the council, there was a request made to continue the closed session discussion. And after further discussion, it appeared to staff that it would be appropriate to pull the item from the agenda this evening in order to give Councilmember Harper adequate time to consider whether or not he must recuse himself from participation in the item. Councilmember Harlan has indicated he will recuse himself from the item. And as a result, we felt that we should pull the item to give a full and fair consideration to those issues and to allow constituents from all the districts to communicate with other council members if Councilmember Harlan or Councilmember Harper are their district representative. So for that reason, for that reason, we are pulling the item from the agenda this evening, and it will be rescheduled and re-noticed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, City Attorney Barlow. I really appreciate that closed session report. Okay, so we have, at the outset of our meeting, we have 3 presentations. The first, and these are all proclamations that I signed, three proclamations, and I'm describing the kind of the background of the proclamation and why I signed those. The first is a proclamation for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is this month. In 1992, Congress officially designated the month of May as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, celebrating the significant role Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have played in the creation of a dynamic American society with their contributions to the arts, commerce, government, and sciences. Orange County is home to the 3rd largest Asian American population nationwide. There are nearly 600,000 Asian Americans and over 1,900 Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, and Pacific Islanders countywide. And in Costa Mesa, almost 10% of Costa Mesans identify as Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander. There are over 63,000 Asian American owned businesses in Orange County and over 96,000 workers in Orange County who are employed by an Asian American owned business, generating over $20 billion in revenue. The city of Costa Mesa is committed to recognizing the achievements of the Asian American and Pacific Islander business entrepreneurs and community educators in our city. We acknowledge and celebrate their contributions to our city's economic and social institutions. Also, on an alarming note, since the pandemic began, hatred and violence toward Asian Americans has been on the increase. The city of Costa Mesa unequivocally condemns any hatred, any mistreatment that has been directed at the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. Instead, we encourage all of you to celebrate their accomplishments and contributions to our entire community. And let me just say that you will see in the coming month, not only this proclamation, but many recognitions of the achievements in all of these, in the arts, Noguchi Gardens, in culinary with our restaurants, and many other achievements of Costa Mesa-based Asian American and Pacific Islanders. And so anyway, that is the first proclamation. The next is a proclamation for National Bike Month. The month of May is also National Bike Month. In Costa Mesa, we recognize that the bicycle has been a utilitarian, economical, environmentally sound, and effective means of personal transportation, recreation, and fitness. National Bike Month is a chance to showcase the many benefits of bicycling and encourage more people to give biking a try. And an environmentally sound form of transportation and an excellent form of recreation. Creating bicycle-friendly communities has been shown to improve citizens' health, well-being, and quality of life, to boost community spirit and improve air quality, reducing traffic congestion and noise and wear and tear on our streets and roads. The city of Costa Mesa, in particular, District 5 Councilmember Arliss Reynolds, has worked diligently to promote bicycle usage with community outreach and educational programs, implementing of bicycle lanes and opportunities to engage residents in the activity of bicycling. As a matter of fact, on April 25th, she recommenced her monthly bike ride, Sunday bike ride. And Councilmember Reynolds, do you know when you're going to have the May bike ride with Councilmember Reynolds?
I just wrote it down. Yeah, we're going to be doing them monthly on the fourth Sundays again. So every month on the fourth Sundays, which means May 28th.
How to go on the 25th?
Oh, it was wonderful. We did our 5-park ride. It was great to get the crew back together again. Assistant City Manager Ms. Price joined us, and we all got a lesson in how to change a flat tire also. So it was really a fun ride. I think everyone really enjoyed being out there again.
Seriously, thank you very much for what you do. This is a lot. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great activity. Okay, so number 3, our third proclamation is for National Travel and Tourism Week. This week, our friends at Travel Costa Mesa are joining 6 other cities in Orange County in celebrating National Travel and Tourism Week, an annual event designed to bring communities together to showcase travel's contribution to the economy and jobs. Travel Costa Mesa is our city's nonprofit organization, established as a business improvement area in 1995. Its purpose is to act as the tourism and marketing arm for Costa Mesa, with the goal of promoting overnight stays in Costa Mesa. As the fourth largest source of revenue for Costa Mesa, we receive from the transient occupancy tax, travel is a powerful economic driver for all of Costa Mesa. Prior to the pandemic, about approximately 8% of all jobs in Costa Mesa were the result of our tourism industry. These may be jobs at a hotel, restaurant, local business, or working for a company that provides services and commodities to those businesses so those businesses can operate. The COVID-19 pandemic devastated the tourism industry and created massive unemployment. It will take years until the travel resumes at pre-pandemic levels. The good news is things are opening, which means more jobs are becoming available, and people can get back to work to support their families and livelihoods. All of us can do our part by shopping locally, doing a stay vacation, visiting the spectacular entertainment venues our city has to offer, and dining out or ordering from our restaurants. Let's do our part to rebuild this important industry. And now I will say, it's either at our next meeting or next month, we're going to have on our agenda from Travel Costa Mesa our annual update. So we look forward to that. So let's hear it for National Travel and Tourism Week. So that's it for the proclamations and the presentations. Now we move on to public comments. Public comments will be heard at this time on matters that are not on the agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand option on your screen. If you're joining the meeting on your phone and would like to speak, please press *9 to raise your hand and *6 when prompted to begin speaking. If you ever want to get in touch with the city council or city staff, you can always email us at cityclerk@costamesaca.gov. Now, just a few ground rules. So the maximum amount of time on the public comments is 3 minutes. Our clerk will give you a 1-minute warning. And again, these public comments are for matters that are not on the agenda. If it's a matter that's on the agenda and you wish to speak about that, then wait for that to come up. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have anybody who wishes to participate in public comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The first person to speak is Larry Hageman. You may speak.
Members, Mr. Mayor, and to all those who service our great city, happy health to you. A happy New Year. I haven't seen you in many months. But as a taxpayer, I'm kind of concerned, got to be honest. 52% of this city's tax base pays for 2 departments within the 13 departments within the city. That is the city fire department, and that is the city police department. 46% of that 52%, which is accounted for within that 2 department village, goes towards salaries, pensions, and benefits. How in the world is that conceivably possible? My question to you, and I would like to thank each member, by the way, for employing the largest compensated police officer within the United States of America, Brian Glass. $490,000 United States dollars, ladies and gentlemen, pays this man's salary. On behalf of the city of Costa Mesa, you all should be given a great bit of gratitude for that, because you vote for that. You decide on what that is. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Wonderful work. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Mr. Hagman. Who's next to speak?
Mr. Mayor, the next speaker is Hank Castanetti. And we're going to pull up a couple slides for him also.
Please let me know when you're ready, Ms. Green.
We will. We're pulling them up right now. Okay, you may begin.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and staff. My name is Hank Castagnetti, and I represent the Orange County Model Engineers. We're the all-volunteer club that has operated the Goat Hill Junction and Mackerel Flats Railroad in Fairview Park since 1985. We're currently conducting fundraising activities to raise money to repair the Hank Hornsfeld Memorial Trestle. This has been a highlight of our layout and a favorite among the over 40,000 annual riders that join us for our monthly free rides. Slide 2, please. The trestle was built in 1991 by local community leader, entrepreneur, and World War II hero, Hank Hornsfeld, who was the owner of Hank's Electric and was given the Mayor's Award in 2013 for his charitable community involvement. Next slide, please. After 30 years of elements, insects, the trestle has become unusable and needs major repair. Next slide, please. The club has set up a GoFundMe page in an attempt to raise $25,000 to purchase material. All the labor will be supplied by the volunteer members of OCME, and the work will comply with all Measure AA requirements. It'll be done by hand as it originally was. Shutting down the trestle could not have come at a more inopportune time for the club, as we just suspended all operations due to COVID-19 and faced the loss of 100% of our income. The club is totally supported by donations from the public, sales from our gift shop, and membership dues. We receive no money from the city or any other government source. Next slide, please. We would appreciate any public donations to our GoFundMe page to help restore this trestle. Please go to the GoFundMe homepage and search on train trestle replacement. And while you're there, enjoy the video of the trains that was produced by the city media department and won the city an ACE award for broadcast excellence. Next slide, please. In addition, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the railroad is once again open for private birthday parties under the current COVID-19 guidelines from the California Department of Public Health.
1 minute warning, please.
To make a reservation for a family party, please call 949-54-TRAIN. Unfortunately, we're not yet able to fully open to the public rides, but we're hopeful it will happen soon. On behalf of the members of the Orange County Engineers, I'd like to thank all the generous residents of Costa Mesa for your continued support of the Goat Hill Junction Railroad. We look forward to seeing you soon in the park. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next person is phone number ending in 698.
Ms. Green, this is Stephen Chan. I provided you a 3-minute video. If you could prompt me when that is on screen and playing, I will provide the audio, play the video with no audio.
Thank you. We will load it now.
Just let me know when it's playing and I'll jump in.
It's playing.
At last Tuesday's Joint Council and Planning Commission public hearing, I urged the city offer up to the citizens of Costa Mesa the municipal golf course land bank to consider for rezoning as low and very low cost housing. Among the many messages I got was one the next day talking about a fight the residents were putting up against Newport Beach's housing element proposal to do that exact same thing with their golf course land by Mesa Drive. Here in Costa Mesa, the residents didn't need to put up a fight. Our city leadership and staff did it for us. You'd have to think there's a zeitgeist amongst the cities and staff to get best of breed and best in class solutions for our regional and societal problems. But oh, Costa Mesa, what best practices? Why is city-owned golf course land not a part of the proposed solution to the RENA zoning demand that our city build 4,000 low and very low cost housing units in the next 8 years. Please don't say none of our staff, none of our officials, elected or appointed, weren't aware that at least one of our neighbors is evaluating golf course land for high density, low and very low income housing. This Costa Mesa racist and special interest centric can't, won't think outside of the box. Holes of the land bank city-owned golf course abut the District 4 boundary and would be a natural continuation of the West Side Latino community where demand for low and very low cost housing is keenest. Instead of picking up best practices where Newport left off, Costa Mesa residents, your city wants your head in the sand. To housing advocates and the Mr. and Mrs. Smiths of Costa Mesa, in these becoming certain times, it's sad, bold moves, and not even best of breed moves aren't offered by our local government to the citizens of Costa Mesa for consideration. Instead, they want you to buy into a sell-off of our industrial base to a zoning plan that isn't going to preserve the character of neighborhoods or come anywhere near providing the called for 4,000 plus low and very low income housing units.
1 minute
They
warning.
might, however, impair the value of your property, like they did to properties involved in the saga on your screen, allowing crony nuisances on property parcels, then proposing to zone them high density 50 units an acre. We urge Costa Mesans reject Mr. Chen's housing element draft proposals and that rezoning land banked golf course land be presented for consideration for high density, low cost housing in the Costa Mesa housing element. Thank you. Please let the video play to the end.
It has finished. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker will be Jay Humphrey, please.
Good evening, Council. Jay Humphrey, Costa Mesa resident. Being a senior and a person fairly highly at risk to COVID, I appreciate the ability to connect with my council via Zoom or via phone. However, these connections leave a lot to be desired, and that desire is the actual face-to-face connections, the ability to connect with different people from different areas that have like or dissimilar views on the circumstance. And I personally would prefer that you open as soon as possible the council chambers so that we can come and be face to face with all you fine folks, as opposed to being online like we are. While you are doing a service to give us access, the reality is that it is seriously curtailed. The fact that we don't get into City Hall very effectively means that our access to records and what have you is reduced. So I'd appreciate anything the council can do to move forward as fast as possible to reestablishing the access to the public directly to the council, directly to the city building, and most importantly to each other under the circumstances of a given meeting. You're starting to do some very significant meetings on projects and what have you, which face-to-face would be better than not being face-to-face. So I leave it on that. Also, by the way, since Measure Y appears to be a real big bugaboo, why don't you guys, you have the simple solution. You can literally put it on the ballot to rescind it. Just make sure that you attach your own names to that request so that, in fact, everybody of the 68.4% of the population who voted for it knows who is, in fact, voting against it. Appreciate your time tonight. Have a very good day and enjoy and be safe.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Wendy Lees.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the Costa Mesa City Council. Thank you Former Vice Mayor Jay Humphrey, I agree. The city of Newport Beach has been open. I don't know why the city of Costa Mesa cannot figure out why we cannot come to City Hall. Things are opening up, but that's not what I'm talking about. It wasn't really clear, but maybe after Mr. Humphrey's comments, could the mayor, when I'm finished, please say which item there is a conflict on? Was it because a lot of us are anticipating speaking about One Metro West, and so if that's off the agenda, then we can have an early night. I'd like to talk about Triangle Square, and I hope you all continue to receive emails and calls from my neighbors. And I'm sure you're well aware that recently the Planning Commission voted 6-0 to not approve and forward to you the recommendation for the giant LED signs proposed at 3 very busy intersections at Triangle Square. The findings were very weak. It wasn't a privilege that the owner would have, and the concern about making money for third parties was apparent, whereas it wasn't really apparent that the tenants would be making money. But I've talked to many people, and many of us believe putting those signs up would impact negatively the charm of Costa Mesa, our character. We don't want to be like Las Vegas or Times Square. Recently, I drove to Arizona and back, and there's quite a few LED signs. They do take attention away from driving. And so the science is there. It is a distraction also, many reasons. So I'm not sure when it's going to go before the city council, but
a minute warning, please.
Thank you. But I would hope that we would also, you would agree with the Planning Commission's recommendations and vote 7-0. And as Mr. Humphrey said, it is election year next year, so we will be watching. Thank you very much for your time and your service.
Yes, and before you call on the next person, Madam Clerk, just to clarify, it is item, the public hearing number 1 that pertains to One Metro West that has been pulled so that Councilmember Harper has an opportunity to further consider the issue raised by the city attorney. Next, public speaker.
The next speaker is Selena Mendoza.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to just tell you guys a story of what happened last Monday to me. And I'm a property manager as well, so also to my tenants. I'm a local artist. I'm sure some of you guys know. And since I've been here, I've been going through this entire saga, which actually influenced me creating my own nonprofit about this, and also influenced my participation in the arts in Costa Mesa in general. So I was in my house at 10 o'clock at night, in my bed, watching Netflix with my cat. It was a normal night. I just gotten back from a long drive. Sorry, I don't want to pass a long drive from Arizona, and cops bang at my door at 10 o'clock at night. And they basically use their words as statements. So it's very confusing, especially as someone, I've been through a lot of different trauma since I was 3 years old. The very first time I've had guns pointed in my face was when I was 3 years old. I was taken by the state when I was 3 years old as well. And so I don't do well with cops. I just comply because that's what I'm used to. And it's been a long saga of my neighbor basically harassing me to the point that because I'm a spray paint artist and I don't practice and at my house anymore, I've made that very apparent. That's why I created my nonprofit. That's why I have relationships with different council members that even allow me to paint at their house. So she basically uses, it's this white woman that harasses minority in our vicinity, basically our apartment community, to the point where we have to kind of watch everything that we do. And so for me, I'm just existing as Latina, as my other tenants are also minority as well. I have a Black tenant, I have an Asian tenant, and through especially everything that's going on this year, it's the last thing that I would want to subject them to is harassment, but also having cops in their house with guns. And you never know.
1 minute warning, please.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to go down in those scenarios. And so they literally came in, had to search every single room. They've violated every shred of privacy that any of us had. I had to make sure that my tenant, especially my Black tenant, was okay and knows that nothing is going wrong. And no one should be subjected to that just because they exist, especially also as an artist in the city of the arts. I shouldn't have to prove my innocence. As an abstract spray paint artist, yes, it's legal to have spray paint. Yes, it's legal to do art in the city, but it doesn't apparently seem so, and it's not safe. And so that's why I'm proposing to have different community policing. So there should be an officer that doesn't have a gun, that doesn't have a taser, that can enter the house. And it's not, they made it very abundantly clear it wasn't a criminal call. And if the firemen came out, it was a waste of resources. And this woman uses a loophole in our system so that even my HOA says they can't do anything because we signed an agreement. So she's
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, it's been 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
She weaponizes the police to basically harass me as an artist in the city. That's it. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, next, please.
The next speaker is call-in user 1.
Yeah, hi, Council. I was also calling in concerned about the Brand Act that might be being violated, and it'd really be nice if we could have in-person meetings at City Hall again. As well, concerned about the police also being overpaid. There's obviously the head police chief is being paid over $490,000 if you include his benefits. But also, if you look at a lot of the police officers, there's 24 that earn over $400,000, and there's 1,350 that earn over $200,000. So, if the pension plan were rolled into cash balance, and then into 401k, that would save the city almost 15% in total payroll costs. So those are my concerns. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Cindy Broad.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to be sure the council saw the news this week that Newport Beach has waived all their ADU fees through to the end of 2022 in an effort to contribute to their RENA numbers. So I hope that Costa Mesa would consider doing something similar. ADUs can be built to complement and enhance our neighborhoods. Arliss, I know you can attest to ours. Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Henny Abraham.
Thank you so much. Hello, council members. I just wanted to let everyone know that not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday, May 15th, is I Love Costa Mesa Day. And with everything that is happening, it's the day of service for our city. And there are so many different opportunities to be of service to each other. There's so many people who need a simple, act of kindness. So I just wanted to encourage everyone who's listening. It's easier to reach out to a lot of people during this meeting. So just sign up for a project. If not, we have tons of projects. We have one that's going to be cleaning yards and gutters and washing windows for elderly senior citizens in the city, in their homes. It's COVID friendly. We have a list going. So get in touch with Trellis, get in touch with I Love Costa Mesa's website, and please sign up and volunteer. We are a city of kindness, and it shows on that day. So I would just encourage everyone to participate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Cassius Rutherford.
Good evening. My name is Cassius Rutherford, Costa Mesa resident. Tonight I'm calling on behalf of Orange County United Way. This letter was sent to the city council members yesterday, and I'd like to read it into the record. Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, Orange County United Way is proud to support efforts in Costa Mesa to bring forward an inclusionary zoning policy that would lead to the production of affordable and supportive homes as part of new residential development in the city. Never before has there been a stronger desire to end homelessness and create housing in Orange County. In 2018, United Way launched United to End Homelessness, a powerful collaboration among Orange County's top business, philanthropic, government, faith-based, and nonprofit leaders committed to ending homelessness by achieving functional zero, meaning housing and services are available for every individual who may need them. Housing affordability remains a persistent and growing challenge throughout Orange County for families, veterans, seniors, and individuals as home and rent prices climb to new heights. Due to these rising costs, households are having to spend over 30% of their income on housing, and a growing number are spending more than 50% of their income on housing. Prior to the COVID pandemic, affordable housing was already a growing need in Costa Mesa and throughout Orange County. Given the disproportionate impact the pandemic has had on working class families, affordable homes are desperately needed now more than ever as we look to rebuild our local economy. However, Costa Mesa's Measure Y, approved by the city's voters in 2016, is particularly problematic as applied to residential developments that include an affordable housing component. Fortunately, Measure Y does include a savings clause, which provides that it does not apply to affordable housing projects required by state law or to the extent its application would otherwise violate the law. Accordingly, we see an opportunity for the city to invoke the savings clause in connection with all projects that include an affordable housing component, as is clearly necessary.
1 minute warning, please.
As is clearly necessary in order for the city to meet its substantial regional housing needs allocation, aka RHNA. Failing to do so would not only jeopardize the city's ability to meet RHNA, but it would render an inclusionary zoning policy ineffective due to the onerous restrictions and uncertainty that Measure Y creates for housing developers. For these reasons, Orange County United Way strongly supports the application of Measure Y's savings clause to housing developments in Costa Mesa that include affordable and supportive housing as part of an inclusionary zoning framework. This would provide a clear path forward to produce more much needed housing in the city by alleviating the restraints of Measure Y. For any questions on our position in support of affordable housing in Costa Mesa as a way to help end housing insecurity and homelessness,
Your
please
3 minutes are up. Thank you.
our Director of Public Affairs.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you.
The next speaker is call-in user 2.
Yes, Brenda, I have a slide.
Okay, thank you. We will load that up for you. 1 minute.
Thank you.
It's loaded.
Thank you. The residents of Costa Mesa have had a really stressful year. And even putting COVID aside, we've been locked out of City Hall for over a year, at a City Council for over a year. We've been silenced on YouTube, chat line. Public comments have been edited. The city has their foot on the throat of the First Amendment of the residents. We are not able to communicate with each other on certain channels. We have lost faith in the city officials and sadly realize the residents don't come first. And I say sadly with an underscore. If you see the photo posted, the one council member referred in this slide is referring to one of the laws of our city as the boogeyman. This is a form of fear-mongering, but even worse, it is that he has publicly expressed his disgust and denial of the People's Initiative Y, which received almost 70% approval by the voters, including those in his district. Another council member duetted a video with an applicant, and now that it's off the agenda, I can say One Metro West, that was offering prizes and money, and narrated by the One Metro West PR person. The signaling of our council people participating in this video is a perceived approval of a major project that was to be on tonight's agenda. We have the mayor and yet another council member which voted and or discussed the One Metro West project while on the Planning Commission. You know, integrity and ethics go beyond the written word. You know, my mother always said, just because you could doesn't mean you should. I'm asking John Stevens, Councilman Harlan, Chavez, and Reynolds to recuse themselves in the matter of the One Metro West and in the name of fairness to the residents. Restore the faith of the residents by doing the right thing tonight and every council meeting going forward. The residents deserve the best you have to offer. They gave you our most valuable asset, our vote. Thank you.
Okay, before we go on to the next person, because she called out specific council members, I just have one sentence to say. I didn't vote on One Metro West while I was on the Planning Commission. Do any of the other council members who were specifically named wish to respond briefly to that comment?
Mayor Stevens, if I may, I voted for Measure Y as well. That's it.
Anybody else? Okay. If no one else, then we'll go to the last public commenter.
Yes, Ben Chapman, you may speak.
Good evening, Council. My name is Ben Chapman. I'm a resident here in District 2. I just want to echo Jay Humphrey and Wendy Lease regarding the in-person meetings. I know I called in last meeting and you guys gave us an update. So I just wanted to see if there was going to be an update, if it's still going to be mid-June or not. I also wanted to echo Wendy Lease. Many of us called and worked together on both sides of the political spectrum when we called in the Planning Commission with regard to Triangle Square. As Wendy did say, it was voted down. So I do hope that you take into consideration the work and effort that the residents have put in against Triangle Square. Lastly, One Metro West. I was actively against that as well. As many of you know, I was a candidate. However, I did attend the block party last week, and I want to thank my representative, Councilman Gameros, who I met for the first time in person, and really enjoyed our conversations. I did voice my concerns with One Metro West to Councilman Gameros and Brett Stoll. And so I was very thankful that they were able to listen to my concerns. And so I just wanted to thank them for taking the time to do so. So I also would like to request that you guys wait on in-person meetings before making a decision on One Metro West. Thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you. It looks like we have one more public commenter.
Yes, the person whose phone number ends in 046. Okay, phone number ending in 046. If you could unmute yourself, please.
Press *6.
All right. We have no other speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, in 046, you're going once, *6 going twice. Okay. Closing those the general public comments, let's go to the council member committee reports, comments, and suggestions. This is the time for council members to provide comments and committee reports. Unmute yourself when I call on you, and please go to only 4 minutes or less. So leading off today from the east side of Costa Mesa, council member from District 6, Jeff Harlan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Costa Mesa. Just a few quick comments tonight. First, I wanted to thank staff and the Planning Commission for participating in the joint City Council Planning Commission Housing Element Study session a few weeks ago. It was a great discussion. Obviously, everybody's very much invested in this, and I appreciated the public comments. I did note, as Ms. Braz did this evening, that Newport Beach had waived fees for ADUs, and I was going to suggest to staff that we take a look at that as well as we're considering our housing element. Secondly, I just wanted to, again, thank staff for organizing our Arbor Day celebration last Friday. A handful of us showed up at Tewinkle Park, along with a number of residents and city staff planting trees. It was a really great event and a great way to start the beginning of the weekend. And then lastly, I just wanted to express my congratulations to Captain Vic Bacala of our police department. He retired from 37 years of service in the U.S. Army Reserves last week as a colonel. So I wanted to thank him again for our service and say we're very fortunate to have him here as part of our city family. And those are all my comments tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Harlan. Next up from District 1, Councilmember Donald Harper.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. First, I want to thank my fellow council members and the mayor for allowing me some time to visit the recusal item. And I also want to apologize for the people that showed up that want to speak. So it's a double-edged sword. But just to add a little bit to what Ms. Barlow stated, I received a memo today around noon from Rose Equity indicating they were making a case that I should recuse myself because of campaign comments I made, really in support or really opposing high density housing. And it was a position I took and it's a position I ran on. Since that time, I haven't made any comments indicating how I would vote on that item. And I did want to say that whenever an issue is brought to me in council, and including One Metro West, I'm always going to research and understand and make an informed decision about that item with full knowledge and with representing what the voters might see as well. To that point, and this is a issue I brought up before, and I would have made the motion to defer this item anyway, irrespective of the memo from Rose Equity. I have commented before that on council meetings, important issues, maybe any issue that you can, that there's a longer period from information being delivered to council members and the public and the meeting. And so on the One Metro West issue on Thursday late 9-10 o'clock, a box is delivered to my doorstep. I get up to the next morning and there's literally a banker box full of One Metro West information. The master plan is 70 pages long. The agenda alone is 376 pages long. The EIR volume 1 is 800 pages long. Volume 2 is 1,000 pages long. The specific plan is 250 pages long. And there are 10 pages of maps. That's 2,500 pages of documentation regarding what's a terribly critical and important item in our city, and one that, as a representative of District 1, I take really seriously and want to understand. By the way, War and Peace is 1,440 pages long if you're interested. So, and I don't know, and I think that would be more interesting to read, frankly. So I was concerned about my ability to, between Friday morning and today, to absorb all that information, and there's no way I could. And frankly, so I would have been making a motion anyway to defer the item. With regard to this item, and really in concert with some comments that have been made, we should see this item when we do open chambers. It's too important to the people, I think, for the optics and respect for the people that are concerned about One Metro West. We should have an open chambers and address the issue. I also think that this is something that's going to be voted on in November 2022, and we've got time to take the time to do that. and always take the time to deliver information to the public and the council members, make sure they understand what they're voting on, and do it properly and with thoughtfulness. So those are my comments. I do want to mention, I know Larry Hagman mentioned our pension liability, or our police and fire, and we do have in Costa Mesa one of the highest unfunded pension liabilities. So I do hear you. Hank Castaneda, my children rode on your model trains for years, and it's one of the most heartwarming things for kids to do, and I just love that you do it. And if you'll reach out to me, I'll make a donation. And Jay Humphrey, I hear you on the open chambers, and that's it for this evening. Thank you again, Council, for your support in deferring the One Metro West item.
Thank you, Councilmember Harper. Okay, next is from the West Side, District 5, Councilmember Arliss Reynolds.
Thank you. I guess I'll start with One Metro West, just to address one of the comments during public comment, and I do appreciate the delay we have, because I do want to give some thoughtful consideration. My image was shown on a video, and I want to share my thought process behind supporting that project. This was a project that I supported to engage the youth of Costa Mesa in talking about how they experience our city and in designing their ideal city. So when you talk about the youth of Costa Mesa, when you talk about community engagement, when you talk about housing and the future of our city, that's a project I want to support. It was certainly sponsored by One Metro West, in the same way that I think Love Costa Mesa Day is sponsored by that organization, and I plan to support Love Costa Mesa Day as well. But the public trust is important, so I will certainly follow up on any legal concerns, but also public and perception concerns. So happy to have a little bit of extra time to noodle on that. Quick committee report out. I am our representative on the Transportation Corridors Agency, and as part of that role, I also serve on the TCA Environmental Committee. I didn't realize that TCA has almost 200 acres of mitigation land, most of it not publicly accessible and very well restored and maintained. We have mountain lions in Orange County. I didn't realize this. And so it's been really neat to learn a little bit about the restoration and land management strategies, not just because I'm personally interested in that, but because much of it translates to what we're trying to do at Fairview Park. So I was happy to get a tour of one of the mitigation sites and learn how not just they restored the site, but how cost efficient it is once the restoration takes place. So very little management if we do restoration right, and that was one of my big takeaways. We heard comments on ADUs. I'm certainly interested in ways to lower barriers to building ADUs in our city. I think it's one of the most low impact ways we can increase housing and benefit our homeowners who can financially benefit from building some additional housing. Biking, it's bike month. Two bike updates. First, I got the date wrong. So we are starting our monthly community bike rides, fourth Sunday of the month, which means May 23rd. I hope you'll join us. We'll make sure we have some notification out. I also want to invite the community to support another charity event that happens this month. This is the Tour de OC. It's a virtual event. You can do a 62-mile ride, a 25-mile ride, or a 5K run or walk. And this is an event that supports Royal Family Kids, and it's a charity event that's organized by many Costa Mesa residents. It's actually what got me back on my bike about 2 years ago and started this, the whole monthly bike ride craze. Finally, I do want to congratulate Bike Walk Committee member now, Vice Chair Jim Erickson, who won an award after being recognized and sort of submitted for award by the students of Save Our Youth. He's been doing weekly bike rides with them, showing them safe routes to get to the beach in different parks in the city. So congrats to Jim, and thanks, Jim, for your service to our city. That'll be it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilmember Reynolds. Now from District 4, Councilmember Manuel Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you everyone for joining us today in our council meeting. Apologies for moving the item from one Metro West. It was a hard decision to make, but ultimately we want to make sure that our fellow peer has the clear conscience when he moves forward. So thank you for bearing with us with that. With that, I have a two-parter today. I'm going to go over a few things I did and then a few things of note in my district. I had the pleasure of attending Scuba.com's opening this Wednesday with Councilmember Gameros and Mayor Stevens. Really nice to see us opening up new businesses on the tail end of the pandemic, which is a sign that things are going to hopefully be moving forward once everyone's vaccinated and everyone is able to go back to normality. So good seeing our business community going out there and joining us in Costa Mesa. We appreciate them and wish them very much success here as well. I joined Councilmember Harland for Arbor Day at T-Winkle Park. We both got a chance to plant 2 trees. So looking forward to the day where I can show my family members the trees I planted. And it's one thing to remind ourselves that we should always be striving to have more trees in Costa Mesa. Not only do they give us shade, but they improve air quality, and more importantly, they kind of raise property values for our residents. So just one of the many benefits trees provide that I think we should be pushing more in Costa Mesa. And I've been very mindful of trees in my district, and I see a lot of baby trees, but also a lot of streets that could use a tree or two. So I want to challenge city staff that going forward, let's not plant trees in a very tree-centric park, but perhaps plant trees where we actually need the canopy shade and stuff in the heart of Westside Costa Mesa. And finally, I joined Timothy Foley, Mayor Pro Tem Mar, and Councilmember Reynolds in our Colonel Backla's retirement from the Army Reserves. Really beautiful ceremony. One of our police officers, not only about his time of service to Costa Mesa, but also to a country. And I was very honored to be there and very happy to witness that. And now on to the fun things, as I call them, or the things to do for our city. So a resident reached by who lived on Joanne Street. He mentioned that there's a lot of broken glass on the alleyway right next to the fire station on Placentia. And he was inquiring on why we had to have the trash cans be in the back of the alley where it causes more distraction and more I'll say nuisance of dirtiness in the back alley and not in the front of the street. So maybe we could talk to our friends in the sanitary district and see if they can move the trash can to the front of the street and beautify the alley. As you know, it's a bike trail that goes from Placentia to Harbor, so we want to make sure it's beautiful and clean as folks use that to traverse in a safe way. Alongside that, a few residents of the Shalimar area have mentioned that it's really difficult to turn onto Pomona Street from James Street. I mentioned this before, but sometimes the cars on the street block the view from cars passing by, making it a very uncomfortable situation. A lot of times cars have to be like halfway through the street before they can turn left. So just one thing to keep in mind as we look at areas in Westside Costa Mesa. And finally, and I was very pleased by this, a few residents reached out to me last Thursday asking why the Luke Davis Field in Lions Park isn't open to the public, given that the Lions Park gets closed. I was happy to share with them that it's our plan to open up Lions Park this year, but I found it very difficult to explain to a resident in a Parkport area why there's a nice green field they can't use due to a prior agreement. I know it's an agreement. I know we can't break the agreement. I understand the legalities of it, but optics-wise, it just does not seem very fair for folks that don't have places to play to see a nice green field they can't play in. And that is my comments for today. Thank you, everyone, and hope you have a nice meeting.
Thank you very, very much, Councilmember Chavez. Now we're going to turn to, from District 2, Councilmember Lauren Gameros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, everybody, for attending this evening. I do want to say that I did attend at SoCo, the One Metro West community outreach, and I spoke with just about everybody that I could. Most everybody was very pleasant and engaging. It was very informative, and I would like to say that I look forward to more community outreach regarding everything that we're doing with this. There's a lot of moving parts. I understand that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I look forward to working with the community in any way that I can and listening to what everybody has to say, and hopefully we can resolve anything that needs to be resolved. I do want to also speak on all of the youth sports that I see that are really taking off. I'm really happy to see that. I see people recreating in parks more. I see a lot of just happy people running around, and it's a really good thing to see. I look forward to more youth sports taking off and more good things happening. Hopefully we can get back to having tournaments and stuff like that, because that it's a big release for the kids to be able to have tournaments and engage with each other in that respect. So I will close with that, just a very short report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Gameros. Now, from District 3, Mayor Pro Tem Andrea Marr.
I have no report tonight. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so thank you. And so I just have a few things that I want to mention. First of all, today is International Firefighters Day. So thank you to all firefighters for their dedication and commitment to keep our community safe. It's obviously a difficult job, especially in California with all the wildfires. We rely on our firefighters when really the chips are down and life is at stake. So thank you for all you do. And just coincidentally, May 4th, I learned, is also the firefighters' patron saint feast day, St. Florian. And the date it's known as St. Florian's Day worldwide, and it's been a tradition for more than 150 years in Europe. So happy International Firefighters Day and St. Florian Day, and please, St. Florian, bless all our firefighters and keep them safe. It's also, and if you came to City Hall, you'd see that there is a red carpet as you walk into City Hall, and that's because it's Public Service Employees Week. And now for the last 2 years, our public service employees have kind of gotten gypped in the sense that we used to have a big celebration to celebrate them and show how much we appreciate them with all kinds of fun things that we did. And because of COVID, we haven't been able to do that, but that doesn't mean we appreciate them any less. In fact, we appreciate them during COVID probably more than ever. And we'll be talking about that a new business item too. So we just get that. Thank you for playing around with me on the May the 4th Be With You Day. We just get past May the 4th Be With You. And we have, of course, Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is to celebrate the Mexican Army's victory in the Battle of Puebla over the French Empire on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 1862. And so obviously we have a rich tradition in our connection with Mexico and Mexican Americans. And so please celebrate responsibly tomorrow. As some have said, I Love Costa Mesa Day is May 15th. That's not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday. Please sign up to participate in that. I believe it's wearetrellis.org, but if that's wrong, just Google Trellis, I Love Costa Mesa Day, and you can see how to participate. It's a great event. Thank you again, Captain Colonel Bacala. Congratulations. You know, I would have been there with bells on. I was in Chicago visiting with my daughter, and thank you to Mayor Pro Tem and to Council Member. I think it was Chavez, and I forget who was Reynolds. Reynolds. Thank you, Council Member Reynolds, for being there for Captain Bacala on his special day. And the last thing I'll say is we've made a lot of progress on COVID-19, and we're talking about opening city council chambers and to meetings, and we're going to have the fair coming up in July and everything like that, but we still have a lot of people that need to be vaccinated. So please sign up for your vaccinations. We have vaccinations right across from where I am right now at the fairgrounds. We've had vaccinations pop-ups at Soy. We have a partnership with Edwards Life Science. There are plenty of opportunities to get vaccinated. Please, if you haven't done it, please get vaccinated. That's all I have to say. And now,
Mr. Mayor.
Here, yeah, yes.
Just real quick, it's lovecostamesa.org to sign up to participate in the project.
Lovecostamesa.org. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so now we're to the city, all the way to the city manager's report. Ms. Farrell Harrison, you have the floor for your report, if any, today.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. Good evening, Honorable Council. Just had a couple of updates tonight. First, I'll start with the reopening of City Hall. As you know, the governor announced not too long ago that there'll be a reopening of the economy on June 15th. We are aligning the opening of our council chambers with that reopening guidance. And so we're looking forward to being back in person as well. We understand the need for there to be in-person meetings. As of right now, we are still in the orange tier. We have been very consistent about following the guidance that's been given by CDPH and the county. And as of this moment, as of today, gatherings are still not encouraged. In fact, on the CDPH website, you'll see that gatherings are strongly discouraged, but can be allowed up to 25% or 25 people max. And so we are in the process of retrofitting the chambers to allow for the council to meet and to deliberate there safely, consistent with OSHA guidelines and staff as well, and also to allow the public to come in on a limited basis. We will not be making sure that every seat is occupied as we have in the past. There will still be accommodations. There will still be precautions that we'll have to make sure that we're engaged in order to make sure that everybody is safe. Not everyone is vaccinated. Not everyone will choose to accept a vaccination, but we are on track for a mid-June opening of the council chambers with both council and the public. So we're excited about that. There are some technology interfaces that we'll need to also implement so that those of you in the public that prefer to continue watching via Zoom can do that. And so it will be an opening for those individuals that would like to come in person, but there will still be the option to participate via Zoom, and we have to make that interface and that connectivity to allow that to happen. And so please rest assured that is in progress, and we're looking forward to it as well. Quick update on homelessness. Wanted to make sure that everyone appreciated that we have partnered with Trellis and also with CityNet to strengthen our street outreach services. We're really excited about that. That will allow for greater coverage on nights and weekends. We have heard from the public some of the issues and concerns regarding the increase in street homelessness, and so we're putting more resources towards that. I'm really excited that Trellis is able to partner with us on that as well. And of course, we've opened the new permanent shelter, which is a phenomenal facility that we're really proud of. And so if you have information that you want to share with us or any concerns, if you'd like to report something, please remember to call the Network for Homeless Solutions General Information and Outreach Line, and that's 714-754-5346, 714-754-5346. Regarding vaccinations, I did want to echo Mayor Stevens' remarks regarding the vaccines. To date, Orange County has vaccinated 1 million individuals, or has administered 1 million vaccines, but we need to do more. And so just a reminder that we have the fairgrounds open daily on Thursdays until 8 p.m. for those of you who get out of work and cannot take time away from your jobs to get vaccinated on Thursday evenings. Most weeks it is open till 8 p.m. We will also have 2 county-sponsored vaccine clinics at our very own senior center on May 11th and also on May 19th. So 2 additional opportunities for vaccinations. That's on May 11th and May 19th. Also wanted to clarify that the OC Fairgrounds has a walk-up feature as well, especially on the weekends. You do not need an appointment in advance for the COVID vaccinations. On Saturdays and Sundays, there is a walk-up ability, and so please avail yourselves of that as well. And then finally, there is a clinic in Irvine as well that will allow for up to 4,000 people a day to be vaccinated. That clinic will be from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., open Monday through Friday, and that started on April 26th. So we have multiple opportunities for you to receive vaccines. Feel free to avail yourself and also to check out our website for additional information. And that's all I had.
Thank you very much, Madam City Manager. So next is our city attorney report. Ms. Barlow, you have the floor for your report, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I've said enough tonight so far, so I have nothing further.
Okay, well, we'll see about that. The meeting's not over yet. Okay, so thank you very much, though. Consent calendar is the next thing we're going to do. All items under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the city council, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and or are removed from the consent calendar for discussion. If a member of the public wishes to pull an item on the consent calendar, please use the raise hand function or press *9 now. And then when you're called on, let us know what you do *6 if you're on the phone, and let us know which item you request to pull. So, Madam Clerk, have there been any requests from the city council or the staff to pull any items?
I don't have any requests from the city council or staff at this time.
Okay, and then looks like we have 3 hands that are raised. And I don't know if they're a holdover or what. Can we see if there's any other items that have been requested? Let's see, first I guess is Ms. Lees. Do you wish to pull an item?
Oh, okay. For members of the public, we have Ralph Taboda has pulled consent calendar item number 6, and I'll allow Wendy Lees to speak. If you could request your item.
On the cannabis consent calendar 5, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Let's request phone number ending in 948.
That might be from the public comment.
I too wanted to pull number 5 and comment on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
fine.
you.
That's been pulled.
And then,
So we have 5 and 6 that have been pulled.
correct.
Anything else? Okay, in that case, I'll entertain a motion on the balance. Councilmember Chavez?
I'll move the balance of consent calendar.
Councilmember, okay, motion on the balance by Councilmember Chavez, second by Councilmember Mar. Please call for the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Yes.
Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, so then we have number 5 is an item that's been pulled. So would you please read the title?
Thank you. This is second reading and adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Costa Mesa, California, amending Chapter 9, Special Land Use Regulations, Article 21, Location of Marijuana Distributing, Manufacturing, Research and Development and Testing Laboratories, and Chapter 4, Citywide Land Use Matrix, Table 13-30, Land Use Matrix of Title 13, Code Amendment C0-2021-01, to establish the development standards for cannabis uses, including retail cannabis storefront and non-storefront uses, to implement the City of Costa Mesa Retail Cannabis Tax and Regulation Measure, Measure Q.
Thank you. Okay, this was pulled by 2 members of the public. And so if any member of the public wishes to speak on this item, please raise your hand or press the *9 key. And then when you're called on, push either unmute yourself or push *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you. We will allow Wendy Lees to speak, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I am a 49-year resident of the West Side. I drive 19th Street, 18th Street every day. When you're voting on something important like this, that I go back to the original pitch that the city gave. And I sent you an email today that you would be developing rules for cannabis storefront dispensaries and non-storefront delivery services that work best for Costa Mesa. I do not believe that not establishing a cap and not establishing distances between storefronts is a bad decision. I would like you to reconsider establishing at least a minimum 1,000 foot distance. We are inundated on the west side with sober living issues from people who fall out of sober living, homeless issues. We have some not too pretty massage parlors. And I think that we need more structure to allow for a restriction on the dispensaries. I don't want to see 19th Street, Harbor Boulevard, or even maybe 17th Street become a mecca and a ghetto area for those who would buy the approved marijuana from the dispensaries. I think we all notice that with people smoking cannabis, that there is an odor, and it is kind of offensive. It's like smoking, tobacco smoke, cigarette smoking. And so we are bothered by that environmentally, and by not having a distance requirement and a cap, I think you're going to see instead of 19th Street and Harbor being revitalized, I think you're going to
1 minute warning, please.
Become just run down with just the lack of attention to the supervision. So please reconsider in this ordinance that you have before you tonight. And consider that not everybody voted for this, but we do expect that you would be more structured in protecting those of us who are going to go along with it, but we did not vote for it, especially here on the west side. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
The next speaker is phone number ending in 948.
I'm going to quote John Stevens' comments at the 4:08:09 mark of the last city council meeting. We have, as an ad hoc committee, spent hours and hours and hours considering these points, speaking to the industry and those who practice in the industry, and have come up with these recommendations. Are they perfect? I'm not going to say they're perfect. Could they be improved upon? Maybe, we'll see. But this is the best that we could do after a lot of really hard work. And then you later repeated, as I said, are they perfect? Probably not. Could they be improved upon? Probably. Well, sir, Costa Mesa residents deserve better. Improve them now. How did 5 of you council members vote for an ordinance contrary to what the voters approved in Measure Q? That is an egregious mistake. Only council members Harper and Reynolds had the integrity to vote against your bait and switch and one-sided effort. A few specifics. Number 1, Measure Q included a minimum of 1,000 feet from playgrounds, not public-only playgrounds. Number 2, the city's original Measure Q marketing information that is still posted on the city website lists where funding will be applied. It does not include the arts and first-time homebuyers. I am not against those programs, but they were not included in the funding narrative when Measure Q was voted on. And number 3, the same city website also states, Measure Q will allow the city to develop rules for cannabis that best serve the residents of Costa Mesa. The focus of your efforts have been only with the cannabis industry. What happened to the best interests of the residents? Why weren't we invited to your ad hoc cannabis meetings? Mr. Stevens, you are single-handedly trying to manipulate a decision that affects everyone in this city. There is also rumor floating around that your son works within the cannabis industry. I do hope you will confirm or deny this rumor. If true, that could explain a lot. The issue is far too important to be decided without input from any of our over 112,000 Costa Mesa residents. The public's input should be valued as much or even more than the cannabis industry. Where is our advocacy? Mr. Harlan and Ms. Marr, I implore one of you to do the right thing and pause this ordinance for the public's input. Mr. Stevens agrees that it is not perfect and could be improved upon. It does not align with what the voters were promised and the residents want to be heard. 10 emails and letters with public comments are attached to this evening's agenda. I hope at least one of you will truly do the right thing to best serve the residents of Costa Mesa and pause this ordinance. Maybe with resident input, together we can finally get this over the finish line. Thank you for your consideration.
My son works at Chipotle. So let's see, who's next?
The next speaker is TAC S.
Good evening, Mayor Stevens, Mayor Pro Tem Mar, and honorable council members. My name is Tak Sato, and I'm the Chief Development Officer of the Shrine Group. I'd like to respectfully request that the city designate the 405 as an impenetrable barrier for purposes of measuring distances between a cannabis retail store and a sensitive use. I believe the main purpose for requiring certain distances between cannabis operations and sensitive uses is so that visitors of a sensitive use, such as a school, do not have to pass by these cannabis operations on their way to the school or on their way home. Our proposed location at 1507 South Coast Drive is around 600 feet away, measured in a straight line for Tewinkle Middle School on the other side of the 405. However, because the 405 can only be crossed using Harbor Boulevard, a person who is trying to get to a proposed location from the school would actually have to travel over 4,000 feet, or almost 1 mile. Because each city is situated differently with waterways, bridges, and highways, the state of California gives every city broad discretion in determining what constitutes impenetrable barriers. Because of this, recently, cities such as Corona, El Centro, Cloverdale, Lemon Grove, and San Diego have taken a practical approach and determined that highways such as I-10, I-15, I-91, and I-8 count as impenetrable barriers when measuring sensitive uses. Additionally, our proposed location next to the 405 being one of the highest grossing cannabis stores in the country due to the sheer volume of drivers who pass the 405 on a daily basis and will provide the city in excess of $4 million in tax revenue. I believe one of the main priorities for every city when they roll out a cannabis retail program is to receive tax revenue while keeping use a safe distance away from these stores. Designating the 405 as an impenetrable barrier will achieve this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker will be call-in user 4.
Yeah, hi, Council. Jim Peters here. I was calling regarding the pot shops and was hoping they could be kept in the industrial areas, preferably above the 405 freeway. It'd be really nice if there was like a citizens focus group mixed with different people throughout the city that could give the opinion to the council as to how the citizens of the city feel regarding having it throughout the entire city. For me as a parent of young daughters, it's concerning that I might go to a grocery store or take them to children's dental, and then right next door will be a pot shop, possibly putting my daughters in higher danger from drug addicts and sexual predators. As I'm sure you're aware, pot is typically the entry drug to higher drugs like cocaine, meth, speed, heroin, fentanyl. And I don't, opening the doors to higher drug abuse in our neighborhoods is not only going to hurt lives, but possibly destroy lives. So to me, it's a big concern that next to the pot shop would be next to the grocery store would be a pot shop, because it also increases crime. As you know, they typically have maybe $500,000 or more of cash on hand because the banks will not accept their money. Also, with the armed guards there, personally, I've experienced visiting a commercial center in Long Beach where the armed guards will come to your window at your car if you sat there for too long, and they're armed to the teeth with guns, and they'll be very hostile towards you if you sat there too long because they're concerned you might be there to rob them. Also, friends that I have that own commercial centers in Long Beach and LA, at least once a month, they've told me it seems like their center's being robbed because the pot shop is being robbed to get the money out. Because again, it is a soft target. And last but not least, the FDA, as you are aware, hasn't regulated the quality of the pot shop products. So typically, the store only has about 5% of it that's really the pure stuff. The rest is diluted with other substances. What are those substances? Are we wanting to invite more? Thank you. Are we wanting to invite more pot into our neighborhood to possibly make our kids sick with pot cookies? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Jim Fitz, you may speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to let you know there's a potential glitch that speakers on Zoom, last couple of speakers, including Councilmember Reynolds, we couldn't hear on Zoom, but I just checked YouTube and we could. So just want to alert you to that. I was wondering, typically in consent calendar and others, we get a chance to hear from council members to what, if any, questions or concerns they have. Is there any chance we could preserve public comment until we've had a chance to see if any council members might have any questions or concerns? We have members of the cannabis industry that are prepared to participate if that's the case.
Well, none of the council members pulled the items, so.
I just want to make sure that none plan on speaking. If they do, then we'd like the opportunity to respond. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Next is ending in phone number 698. You may
Council,
speak.
this is Stephen Chan. I spoke earlier today via video, and I kind of provided the audio for the video. And I didn't really speak to what was shown on the video, which is the commercial residential interface. As it pertains to the what could very well be a proliferation of retail cannabis locations who back up against residential. Well, I'm damn scared. I mean, I got a bar that feels quite comfortable repeatedly attacking security cameras on residential property, not just when choppers are going overhead, but also across the street from the soup kitchen. It's really an issue of security. The city's actions in the matter depicted on the video, where the strut bar is attacking the residential cameras with lasers and dressing room mirrors, you know, that is putting a target on the residents' backs. And especially if these are cashed up targets, an earlier caller mentioned the increase in theft, robbery. I mean, there's a big pile of loot sitting there. So there's a lot of busting in and going on. So this is very ill thought out. And the fact that we are already at the second reading and you're hearing these kinds of reactions from the public should tell you that this is not well thought through. And it's a disaster and accidents and other bad things waiting to happen, like you saw in the video.
1 minute warning.
Why are commercial business operators attacking residential security cameras? Well, it's because they don't want them to know what the heck is going on. Now, why is that? Now, this pot industry, the regulatory piece of this heavily came from the ABC, and we've, at least in my neighborhood, have seen absolutely how inept the ABC is. And regulation of this industry is certainly not set. And this is a dangerous ordinance to pass tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next speaker is Matthew Nathaniel.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Nathaniel, Director of Retail Expansion for Shrine Group. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and also thank you for, being willing to be progressive and move forward with legalizing regulated cannabis in the city of Costa Mesa. But I did want to share a few things for consideration this evening. The first does reflect upon the 405's designation as an impenetrable barrier. As was mentioned earlier, state law does provide jurisdictions with wide discretion on how to implement sensitive uses, how they're defined and measured. As was also mentioned earlier, there are several jurisdictions that have already determined interstates as impenetrable barriers, none of which have been challenged through litigation. Also on this, the 405, again, as was mentioned, doesn't really serve the purpose of keeping at-risk individuals such as youth away from cannabis, as it really cannot be traversed in under 1,000 feet. Also, for the 405, it would be a tremendous boost to the city of Costa Mesa. Based on experience, such a location along the highway would actually be benefit mostly from passing through traffic, and not designating this as an impenetrable barrier would actually be a significant loss to the city of Costa Mesa, as well as neighboring businesses to the storefront retail. When you compare alternate compliant locations away from the 405, there's an estimated loss to the city of about 70% in tax revenue to the city. In the first reading, there was also a 30-foot barrier around playgrounds that was implemented and determined to be a safe barrier to protect the youth. If indeed a playground barrier is an effective barrier, then there's no logical reason not to designate the I-405 as an impenetrable barrier as well. We recommend that the City Council reverse the decision in the first reading and redesignate the I-405 as an impenetrable barrier. I'd also like to touch on
1 minute warning.
The city's policy on confirming compliant properties. Staff has stated that they cannot confirm if a property is going to be compliant until a formal cannabis business permit application is submitted, and won't release an updated map with sensitive uses listed until the ordinance goes into effect. I'm not sure what is expected if they expect business operators to gamble in the real estate market. And having experience with many licensing processes throughout the state, this is highly irregular not to provide a reasonable map from which businesses can make decisions. I strongly encourage the City Council and staff to release a usable map very soon so that business can move forward with regard to this. Thank you very much for your time and consideration, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Keith Maximilian.
Council, I just wanted to give you guys major credit for what you have done so far. Nancy's been so helpful with everything. I think that the ordinance that the majority of Costa Mesa wants is now hopefully going to come into effect. And I think that you have, when people are on here explaining that there's 10 people on here that don't like the way the ordinance is laid out, doesn't represent the rest of Costa Mesa. I lived here for 25 years. I'm a homeowner, business owner. And I think you guys have done a fabulous job, and I think the ordinance should be passed as is. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Jason Piazza.
Thank you. As a lifelong resident of Costa Mesa, who is now raising a family of 5 here and who smokes cannabis regularly, I am so excited the city will finally deliver a path forward for legal cannabis dispensaries in Costa Mesa. I'm also highly encouraged by the market-based shape the ordinance is taking. However, I do not understand why the 405 freeway isn't being treated as an impenetrable barrier. There's just zero logic there. Look, the state wants to protect children, and I cannot for the life of me remember a single instance where a child ran across the 405 freeway to get to the other side. And I grew up in the state streets, so I have a bit of experience playing in that area. And isn't the 405 already considered an existing impenetrable barrier for the Measure X cannabis licenses? So are freeways considered impenetrable or not? Look, in my view, all freeways in Costa Mesa should be an impenetrable barrier, and we should maintain intellectual honesty and consistency in our ordinances. Furthermore, I did a little research on this topic, and in addition to Costa Mesa, there are 6 additional cities in California which have impenetrable barrier language in their ordinances: Corona, Cloverdale, El Centro, Lemon Grove, San Diego, and Encinitas. Also, I heard a public comment from a gentleman at the last cannabis ordinance read through who said that cities are allowed to place dispensaries within the state's minimum 600-foot buffer from schools. I believe he read the exact language from the state's regulations. I don't know. I just can't imagine any of the buildings across the freeway from the state streets causing an issue for kids at Tewinkle. I mean, how far away are those schools from the closest building on the other side of the freeway? Last I checked, they're at least 600 feet, which is the state's minimum guideline. Regardless, as a bird flies is not the distance any human would take from the state streets to a dispensary that could potentially locate on the opposite side of the freeway. That path of travel is at least 1,000 feet. Furthermore, I heard you guys talking
1 minute warning, please.
the Hooters location last time. As far as I'm concerned, replacing an outdated business like Hooters, which objectifies women, is a great improvement to our beautiful city. And wow, talk about tax revenue. That location could really pump the tax dollars into the city from commuters who otherwise wouldn't have stopped in Costa Mesa, but to buy some legal regulated weed. Also in the last reading, there was discussion about a 30-foot buffer around playgrounds as a kind of pretend property line. Look, while I think that's all fine and well, I certainly can't imagine how some imaginary 30-foot line around playgrounds is more impenetrable than the 405. Maybe I'm missing the point, but I'm pretty sure a kid could run through an imaginary property line, just saying. Thank you for your time, and thank you for creating a path to safe legal access to cannabis in our beautiful city. Cheers.
Mr. Mayor, there's no further speakers.
Thank you. Well, then I'll close public comment and entertain a motion from council.
I'd like to make a motion to move this forward.
Second. Okay. Councilmember Gamaros, do you want to speak to the motion?
I do want to speak to this motion. I'd like to say that I personally reached out to as many people in the industry that I could. I met several of them in person. I spoke with them in depth. I invited many of the staff, including the chief of police, to come and visit and see how manufacturing is done and what the intent of the retail stores would be from the operators that are currently in the X zone. I spoke with both city attorneys. I spoke with Lorianne Farrell Harrison. I spoke with Jennifer Lee. I spoke with John Stevens and Manuel Chavez regarding this. And we spent a ton of time making sure that this ordinance was appropriate. It fit what was needed for the community. And as far as some of the pieces that could be missing or could be fixed, I think it's ancillary in the scheme of things. And I think that the community as a whole is going to benefit from moving this forward with what we've done. So I would just like everybody to take that into consideration when this thing moves forward, and hopefully we can resolve any matters that might come up in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. As the second, I just want to obviously echo what Councilmember Gamero said. I just want to address a couple of things that were mentioned by the public. You know, the impenetrable barrier issue, that is obviously been raised by one particular potential applicant who's interested in putting a dispensary in where the Hooters is. And a couple things. The thinking there is that would be an exception to the way we determine, way we measure the distance. And I just don't think that there's a justification for that, in the sense that there's no other circumstance where we measure distance by path of travel. And a lot of the arguments that they make about impenetrable barriers would be true if you look at buildings and any number of things that prevent a child from, you couldn't walk through, would be impenetrable barriers for a child. They mentioned the issue of playgrounds, well, the 30 feet was to go around the playground as opposed to the park. Playground is what's called out in the measure Q, but the 1,000 feet runs from that, the definition of playground, and there's no change in how that's measured. As to distance barriers and caps, we discussed that before we put measure Q on the ballot. They weren't included in the ballot, and they were discussed extensively at our last meeting, so I won't go over that. As for the issue of private playgrounds, I did some more thinking about that, and I did some more independent research. I have, if anybody wants to see these photographs later, I could show them. But the one private playground that was called out was the one at Aura, which is on the corner of Merrimack and Harbor. So I went there, and the private playground at Aura is one slide, and it's small enough that it could fit in anyone's backyard. If that's considered a private playground, any resident could create a private playground. Furthermore, it says specifically it can only be used by the residents of Aura, and it's made for 2 to 5 year olds. So, and then finally, obviously the issue that was raised by one of the residents that we should put dispensaries in industrial zones. Well, that, 65% of the voters voted for measure Q, which clearly says that they should be placed in commercial zones. So that's the whole basis of the ordinance. Finally, I'll say, just in general, that we've talked about a number of these items we're talked about in the Planning Commission, we're talked about at our last meeting, and have been talked about at the public. But in terms of the ordinances themselves, they're quite extensive. For every point that we made and we discussed, there are probably 5 or 6 points in terms of hours in operation, requirement of security, that were not debated because they were basically accepted by acclamation. And they're very detailed in Title IX and Title 13 as to what can and can't be done. So I'm very comfortable. Out of humility, I said it's not perfect, and that's probably not true. That's probably true. But I don't think we're never going to get perfect, and we shouldn't have perfect be the enemy of the good. And these ordinances drafted are very good, very well thought of, and very considered by staff and by the council. Okay, we've got some hands up. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be supporting the motion. I do want to acknowledge 2 concerns raised by residents to me. So the first one was people were talking about, I guess it's 3 things, so my apologies there, about why is there no 1,000 feet per business and why is there no cap on businesses? The thing we see once we look at the map, if you have the map in front of you, you can look at the map. It is pretty limiting on the number of businesses we can have in Costa Mesa just by the zoning itself. So the fear I had particularly was if we do a requirement of only if you can't have a business within 1,000 feet, what happens if you get someone that's not the best operator that goes in first? And all of a sudden you have 1,000 radius around that business with a not so good operator. And all of a sudden you block out someone who could have been much better in terms of quality of service, in terms of safety for the community, things of that nature. What I was fearful of was by doing a barrier of 1,000 feet, we limit market competition to allow those that are better operators to rise up and those that are worse to go down. That's kind of the reason why I was against a 1,000-foot buffer between stores. And also the fact that was not actually in the ordinance that went to the public to be voted on. If we wanted that, we would have included that before it went to the people. Second point, on terms of caps, similar situation. I look at our neighbor Santana to the north, right? They have a cap of 20 stores at all times in Santana. And what happens in Santana is that around 5 to 6 of those stores are constantly flipping owners because the city of Santana can only really have 14 businesses that are operational and profitable in the city. So imagine a situation in Costa Mesa where we say a cap of, let's say 20 like them, for example, right? But we only need 10. I don't want to have 10 stores for cannabis constantly flipping because we allow 20 and because we just thought that would be a good number to put out there. You know, we had the ability with this ordinance to go back to it at a later date and add a cap if we need to add a cap. That's why I'm comfortable not having a cap in that and that ordinance. And the last thing that was mentioned to me was an over-concentration of potential locations in Westside Costa Mesa. If you indulge me, and sorry if it's blurry, I have my phone out right here. I don't know if you can tell. This is 19th Street right here. This is Harbor Boulevard. 19th Street has one issue for cannabis stores. Cannabis stores, because cannabis is not legalized in the whole country, you cannot rent or be paying a mortgage on your property. So that basically means the cannabis folks have to buy the business outright in cash and own the property, or else they get a lien on them for their mortgage. When you look at 19th Street in particular, not only is there a sensitive use that blocks out most of it, but the very few ends around it that are closest to people that live in the district or live in those communities, they are not standalone. They're not standalone buildings. They're a stretch of buildings that have multiple tenants. So the idea that someone's going to buy a whole strip and make it to one cannabis store just doesn't make sense to me. And finally, on Harbor Boulevard, I walk Harbor Boulevard down from Victoria or Hamilton or Wilson every day. It's part of my daily walk. And if you walk on Harbor Boulevard and those sections right here on the map, there is no homes nearby them. Behind those businesses is a street and then it's homes. So I understand the concern for oversaturation in Westside Costa Mesa. However, given those circumstances, I don't think it's actually going to happen. I think we are going to see a flux of businesses come in, but as market dictates and capitalism decides, some will fail and some will rise. But ultimately, I want those that rise to be the best ones that will serve us best and keep us the safest and give us the best revenue, and not those stores that happen to be first in line and then block out everyone else. So thank you.
Thank you. Council member, let's go with Councilmember Harlan, then Councilmember Reynolds. Sorry, Harper.
I think Arliss was raised her hand before me.
Oh, I can't. It's fine. If you, Councilmember Reynolds, he's yielding. The gentleman from District 1 is yielding to you.
I'm trying.
Sure, thanks. I hope people on Zoom can hear me. Someone nod if they can hear me after that comment. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I didn't vote for the original ordinance, so I'm going to offer a substitute ordinance here and explain my reasonings if I get a. I would move that we reinstate 405 as a impenetrable barrier, effectively allowing, as we've heard, the Hooters site to become an eligible property. But also take the time to conduct community outreach comparable to what we did for promoting Measure Q, and that we make sure that we publish the map. My understanding is it's currently not available, but the map that does reflect what our current recommendations on the ordinance would allow to provide additional input.
Is there a second?
That would be my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
And I'll by Reynolds and second by Harper. Go ahead and yeah, just if you want to speak on the motion, the substitute motion.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I appreciate the phrase, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. I say that every day to myself at work. The perfect that I would be looking for here on our city's first retail cannabis ordinance, something that certainly is headline grabbing, potential for a big positive impact on our city. The perfect that I'm hoping for here is that we get an ordinance that we can all support 7-0. And we're not there yet. And I appreciate that members on our council who were on the ad hoc committee have spent a lot more time on this than the rest of us. I want to remind those those of us who weren't on the ad hoc committee didn't see the ad hoc committee recommendations until we were having this discussion during the council meeting last week. And so I don't feel like I had enough time to really digest and understand the different recommendations. And I was certainly surprised by the ad hoc committee recommendations based on the timing of that. The 405 as an impenetrable barrier. I mean, I just think of people that I brought up last time with the ordinances proposed. Smart and Final on 19th Street can become a retail shop with all of the traffic impacts that may come with that, but the Hooters site can't. That just doesn't make sense to me. It seems to me that the Hooters site makes much more sense for a large retail establishment than a Smart and Final, for example, based on location. The community outreach piece is really important to me. I think the ordinance as proposed is different enough from the measure that was passed, certainly in the public perception, and most of the people that I spoke to since our last meeting were surprised that this was happening. They aren't aware of this discussion that's happening now, and certainly have opinions on that. I did ask at the end of our last council meeting that we do publicize that we're having this conversation, and we didn't do any of that. And so I think we missed an opportunity there to make sure that our public is aware of this. Sorry, we didn't do any of that beyond the standard noticing of our council meeting. So I think it's really important that we take the time to make sure that the community knows that we're having this conversation and has the time to give public input on that. Finally, I got a number of questions about specific sites and realized that we don't even have a final map that reflects the recommendations. And I certainly don't feel comfortable making a vote on an ordinance where I don't have the final map of that ordinance reflects.
Okay, Councilmember Harper, you were the second. Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I do. And Jim Fitzpatrick came on and said is there a question period? And Mayor Stevens, I wish we would have had a question period because I have questions, and I was going to pull the item. Just the fact that I didn't pull the item didn't mean there should have been a question and answer period. So I have a few questions and then a few comments, if you don't mind, if that's all right.
Okay, but wait. So do you have any? Do you have anything to support the motion?
Well, I can speak to the motion, but and okay, I can do that, but I still have questions. I don't know if all right.
Well, listen, I don't want to censor you. Do whatever you want to do. Ask questions.
I don't want to recuse myself, John.
No, you don't. You're not.
I did that once today. No, I
express yourself.
Councilmember Chavez, can you tell me why? Well, let me back up and say one thing. For the three of you that were on the ad hoc committee, and I appreciate your hard work, I hope that you can look at that as kind of some work you did, and that sometimes we get a better idea, and sometimes we find through this process adjustments that we can make and make what you did even better. And I just encourage you to have an open mind and not feel like you have to defend the hard work you did. I do it too sometimes. I get attached to what I've done and think I'm right, and I find someone out of the left field that says, "Oh, that's a better idea." So I want to encourage that. But Councilmember Chavez, tell me why the retail stores in Santa Ana are flipping continually. Tell me why they're failing.
I can't give you the why exactly. I'm not in their business model. I can just tell you that from observation, they're flipping. So okay. I'm deducing, and I could be wrong in my deduction, that if something is flipping constantly, it's because it's not doing very well. And in a controlled market environment where you have a set quantity, I would imagine that people are buying into the product because they think it's going to be better than it is, and it actually is. So that's why I didn't support a cap in Costa Mesa, because I don't want to have a situation where we create a cap in the market and then the cap is actually more demand than we actually need, and then leading to more flipping of licenses.
Yeah, I think that the thing that I missed with what you're saying is we don't know why they're failing, and I think that's important. And I do have one theory, and maybe Lauren or John, you can speak to this. In this industry, there's a 30% markup in tax. And whenever you have that, and that tax is collected at the retail level, it's not collected at the manufacturer or the grower level. And I've seen this in the fuel industry, and there were millions of dollars that included the Armenian mafia and the Russian mafia, where taxes eventually were collected at the refiner level, at the manufacturer level, not at the retail level. Because when they're collected at the retail level, they're remitted, and you don't have to remit them all. And so you are in this industry consistently going to have a black market, whether it's a good or bad retailer. And I think in a commodity market like this, margins get squeezed, especially where you can grow illegally. And I've seen it. I grew up in Humboldt County, and I think I've seen it there. It's easy to grow, it's easy to distribute, it's easy to manufacture, and you can do it quietly. And so you can sell it that way. So I think you're going to have a constant battle of good, quote unquote, good retailers trying to survive, and definitely selling illegally, and we're not going to collect the tax. So, you know, one of the things I was going to make the comments on that's missing that I'd like to add to maybe I add to the motion. And I think the key part of the motion that Councilmember Reynolds made is I want some community or voter focus group to kind of be able to choose between really the three options we have here and give commentary on it. And I see three options here. I see industrial zones that to me represent the safest place, because don't shake your head, Andrew Marr. Give me a chance. Give me a chance.
Well, let me stop you, Don.
Yeah.
Because you're going down if I may, you're going down a road. That's not an option. So you said that the industrial zones, but in Measure Q, it says commercial zones. So we do not have the legal power to do industrial zones. So
fair enough.
So
that's fair. I appreciate your interruption. Okay, I'll share. My concern is that we're trying to. Well, okay. So then we've got two options. We can put these airbags around this hybrid ordinance that we've done, trying to protect schools and children. And I still don't understand when you're trying to do that. If you put something in a commercial area, like it's right by a yogurt shop, you're still going to have children going there. So that's why I don't understand that. And that's really why I'm leaning towards, and I've seconded Arliss's motion, is get feedback from our community on this issue, and make the 405 an impenetrable barrier, because at least I can consolidate this issue, and I feel like we can better control and keep the community safe. And if we need to, we can implement an ordinance to maybe audit that retail operation on a regular basis, or some additional mechanism to make sure the tax is collected. Because I think it's a concern of mine that I'm hearing that it's not going to be collected and we won't meet the goals. So, I do think it's interesting. You know, we did say commercial, but I'm not sure what the voter really understood when they voted for that, to be honest. So that's my commentary. I would like to add to the motion that there is some mechanism designed to audit these stores, at least the larger retailers, and make sure that we collect the tax. That'd be my third.
That's in the.
Yeah, I understand what it is. I don't think it's effective. So I don't think it's effective.
I have a point of clarity. So
hold on one second. So okay, I just want to make sure.
Explain what it is, John.
What? No, I don't have it with me. I can't explain what it is. Okay. But I know it's in the ordinance, and it was not something that was ever discussed or questioned at any level. So I'm sorry if I just want to make sure, because Councilmember Marr hasn't had a chance to talk, but I want to make sure you're finished with your comments.
Yeah, well. Ms. Harrelson, can you comment? What is the audit mechanism in the ordinance?
Thank you. As I recall, both the ballot measure and the ordinance refer to annual audits that will be done of the financial information that we receive from the cannabis businesses to ensure that we're receiving the correct amount of taxes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mayor Stevens, I have the language in front of me. I'm happy to read it. If
That'd be great. We'll go ahead and read it. Thank you.
To ensure accountability, public disclosure, and transparency, the ordinance requires that the proceeds of this tax be subject to an annual audit by an independent certified public accountant, which shall be reported to the City Council in a document or documents posted on the city's website and available for public inspection.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna do anything, to be honest. I've seen how this works before, so.
All right, so then, and do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't have anything else, John. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Marr, apart from that, thank you, by the way, for reading that. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the substitute motion. So for what period of time are we continuing to do public outreach? And that doesn't seem to be, I think Councilmember Harper referenced focus groups. Councilmember Reynolds, you're talking about just more outreach in general. I'm trying to understand, is there a finite period of time, or is it until we have a different ordinance?
I can define it further. Yeah, I said sort of comparable to our Measure Q outreach, and what I meant by that, what I was thinking by that was, we had a outreach and communication plan through our social media, explaining why we were supporting Measure Q. So if I was to put time bounds on it, I think until the next council meeting, similarly branded notifications explaining that we're working on our City of Costa Mesa cannabis ordinance is sort of the phase 2 of Measure Q, and that we would like public input, including in that presenting what the current proposed ordinance is and the map of eligible properties. And I think an important part of that communication would be the mitigation strategies for some of the concerns that the residents in our community are naturally have.
So are you also continuing the item until such time as that is complete?
Well, included in my motion was the 405 impenetrable barrier. So that would be a sort of a new first reading, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Got it. Okay. So you are punting it intentionally. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Would the maker of the motion consider adding private playgrounds into the definition of playgrounds?
Yes.
No. Oh, the maker of the original motion or the substitute?
Well, the substitute motion's on the floor right now. So yes.
Sorry.
No, that was great. Councilmember Reynolds has the substitute motion on the floor. So yes.
Yes.
Does the second concur?
Oh, yes. I was just waiting to be called on.
So I was waiting for somebody to say it also.
I got to be careful.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, I think that there's a couple of things for the public to understand. So one of the challenging parts about this is that there's already been a rush from the second we thought about putting it on a ballot. There have been businesses who have been trying to sort of claim properties and be at risk, fundamentally second guessing what the ordinance might be. And that's tricky because it's not our job to pick winners and losers. And it's not our job to, side with sort of one, property owner or one developer over another. And so trying to sort of stay out of that fray when I had calls from two with conflicting advice within the same 20-minute period has been interesting. I am fully supportive of any opportunity we give the residents to provide a little bit more input. And frankly, by making any changes to the ordinance, we would have incurred a second reading anyway. And so that doesn't fundamentally change the timeline. And then the other part of this is that it's just, I don't know. This has been a weird process because the amount of input I've received that indicates, how do I phrase this politically correctly? there's a lot of stuff going around. I got contacted today, for example, that was like, don't take out the 1,000-foot barrier that was in Measure Q. I'm like, that wasn't actually in Measure Q. So I think that sort of misinformation rumor has been contorting this process into being something that like, that wasn't in there. We're not taking anything out. We're not loosening controls. Like we very much are following the letter of what's in Measure Q right now. And so, I mean, I think the only thing that I could see is the language around 0.5% towards the arts. We do say that we have the discretion to spend the money as we want, but we suggested some other things. I think of all of the tax that we're leveling, 0.5% is within our sort of discretionary bounds. And so I feel comfortable with that. But otherwise, I mean, going back and rereading Measure Q this weekend, we're very much in keeping with exactly what the voters voted for. I'll also say, I voted to put Measure Q on the ballot, but I didn't campaign on it. I didn't put my name on it. I didn't honestly know how I feel. And until I sort of got into the ballot box and voted for myself, right? So this isn't something that I've been like, advocating for an extended period of time. I feel I'm very much going back to like, what did the voters actually vote for, and what did they think was going to be on the ballot? And it's commercial properties, it's, you know, a significant tax, it's regular audits, and maintaining the 1,000-foot barrier from schools, parks, playgrounds of all kinds. So anyway, I'm comfortable with the substitute motion. Thank you.
Okay, let's call for the question on the substitute motion.
Thank you. Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan?
No.
Councilmember Gameros?
No.
Councilmember Chavez?
No.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
Yes.
Mayor Stevens?
No. Let's call for the question on the original motion.
Excuse me, motion fails 3-4 with Mayor Stevens, Councilmember Chavez, Councilmember Gameros, Councilmember Harlan voting no. Okay, the vote on the original motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
No.
Councilmember Reynolds,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
No.
Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-3 with Mayor Pro Tem Mar, Councilmember Harper, Councilmember Reynolds voting no.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor, but the motion did not carry because the vote required for this ordinance is 5 affirmative votes, 2/3.
Okay.
Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Would the maker of the original motion consider adding private playgrounds to the definition of playgrounds?
Councilmember Gameros, the second would be okay with that, if I can get the fifth vote.
That's going to be the only addition, and we can move this forward, then I would agree to it.
Okay, there you have it. Let's vote on that.
All right, thank you. Let's do Councilmember Reynolds,
No.
Councilmember Harper,
No.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Yes.
Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2 with Councilmembers Harper and Reynolds voting no.
Thank you, council, for all your work on that item and all your engagement. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Okay, so let's go on to item number 6 on the consent calendar, which was pulled by a member of the public. I believe it was pulled by Mr. Taboda. So I'm going to open it up for public comment. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll read the title first. It's Resolution Adopting a List of Projects for Fiscal Year 2021-22, funded by Senate Bill 1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. I have two hands raised. They might be held over from the last one, but we'll see. I'll first allow Jim Fitz to speak.
I think pretty sure. Okay, go ahead. I think pretty sure that's the last one.
Yes.
Road repair and accountability.
Yeah, Jim Fitz. Did you want to speak on this item? Okay, we'll go
No,
to
probably not.
Jason. We'll go to Jason Piazza.
Sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay. Jason Piazza, did you want to speak?
No, he said it was a mistake.
Okay, thank you.
So now we'll go to Dale Luther.
Dale
Hi,
Luther,
how
you
are
may.
you? Oh, hi. I'm Dale Luther. Thanks for being there tonight. And I don't know if it's too late to speak or add to the issue regarding the marijuana.
Yeah, it is.
It is, okay. I guess what I was when I saw the promotion of Travel Costa Mesa, I'd like to get involved with that because that's what I mark as people coming to Costa Mesa and Orange County. And certainly this just doesn't give a good impression, but I would
Okay.
like to get involved. But thank you all.
All right, this is about the Road Repair and Accountability Act issue. Mr. Martinez?
Well, I'll be honest, I think I would have liked to see a staff presentation before I made a public comment. Oh well, that's fine. I just wanted to mention that this, the one item on this list, improving Adams Avenue from the Santa Ana River to Royal Palm Drive, it needs a little bit of work because it ends at Royal Palm Drive. Right now, we have this project, the Adams Avenue Improvement Project, and then we have another Adams Avenue project that goes from Harbor Boulevard to Fairview Road. Now, this leaves the section between Royal Palm Drive and Harbor Boulevard without any bike protections or any pedestrian improvements. Currently, that section has a share the road sign heading eastbound, but share the road signs are very unsafe for cyclists if you actually want to bike on the road. That section of Adams Avenue is either going to be a 40 or 45 mile per hour speed limit. And if I'm on a bike heading into a bit of wind, I'm probably going at most 8 miles per hour. That is a very large difference and very unsafe. And it's basically going to stay the same because this project only reaches Royal Palm Drive. There's a lot of students in the Mesa Verde area who are going to Orange Coast College, they're going to Costa Mesa High School, middle school, Davis Elementary, and that section right there is critical for them to cross Harbor Boulevard. And we're leaving them extremely vulnerable by not giving them protections by cyclists. Right now, if you're heading east on Adams, you have 3 left turn lanes. That seems extremely excessive. I know OCTA and the agreement, but please work with them so that we can remove a lane and get a protected bike lane between Royal Palm Drive and Harbor Boulevard so that we can have a actual good bikeway that runs along the entire length of Adams Avenue.
Thank you very much, sir. So is there anyone else who wishes to comment on this from the public?
No, we do not have anybody else, but Mr. Taboda pulled this And so maybe if Mr. DePoto, you're on one of the phone lines, you could raise your hand. But otherwise, we have
Going
nobody
once,
else.
going twice. Okay, I'm going to close public comment and then ask for a motion, please, on consent calendar item number 6. Okay, okay, Councilmember Reynolds, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you. I'll move to approve the item. I want to include in that we direct staff to include in the design this connection. I'm sorry, I forget the street, but the connection that Mr. Martinez described as well between, was it Royal Palm and Harbor? I'll just simplify. Approve the item and direct staff to include in the design for, I think, the 2 projects on Adams, make sure that we have a connected, safe bike path.
Okay, there's no concerns about that. Is there, Mr. Sethuraman? With that addition?
And Mr. Mayor and council members, the issue is the right of way. At this point, there is only almost a 6-foot wide sidewalk that we have, and we reach the private property. So unless we take away lanes on the street, it's hard to do that project. It's something that we are willing to work with the committee and see what options are available. So we can consider that, but it will be a separate project though.
Okay, is that okay with the maker of the motion?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Chavez. So motion by Reynolds, second by Chavez. Does anyone want to make any comments? Do you want to speak to your motion or are you?
Sure, I will briefly, and I want to take the opportunity, because I forgot in my comments, to congratulate Mr. Martinez. He was accepted a couple weeks ago to the America Walks Walking College. My understanding is he's the youngest ever fellow for the America Walks Walking College. So congrats on that. And I want to express my appreciation for his diligent reviews of all of our ATP designs and plans. I think this council has acknowledged before the importance of the users of our sidewalks and bike lanes, their input on how they experience our streets. A number of us have ridden in different parts of the city where we have wonderful infrastructure and then are suddenly deposited onto a street with no bike lane. So any opportunity for a contiguous bike lane, I think, is really important to take, especially on a very large project like this one. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Chavez, do you have anything to say about your second?
It's a good motion.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so I don't see any other hands up. Let's call for the question.
Thank you. Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper? I don't see him on. I wonder if he got...
He had to leave.
Okay. Councilmember Harlan?
Yes.
Councilmember Camaros?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
Yes.
Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-1 with Councilmember Harper absent.
All right, wonderful. Now, we're close to the end here, so I think we should just press on. Unless anybody feels strongly that they need to take a restroom break. I'm seeing the go. Okay, good. So we're not going to go forward, as we talked earlier, with public hearing item number 1 because of the issue we discussed before. So now we're on to new business, and we have one new business item tonight. We'll not have a PowerPoint, but staff will provide a verbal report to elaborate on the staff report that has been published with the agenda, and I'm sure read very carefully by the council members. And so, City Clerk, would you please read the title?
Yes, this is approval of amended side letter of agreements for resolutions to eliminate furloughs and reimburse for reductions incurred. Presentation by Ms. Lee, Human Resources Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. At the June 25th and July 21st, 2020 City Council meetings, side letter agreements were approved to achieve the equivalency of a 5% furlough across all labor groups. Between the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan, the city is expected to receive an estimated amount of $30.7 million. At the April 6, 2021 council meeting, the City Council authorized the city manager to enter into side letter negotiations for the purpose of eliminating the furlough and reimbursing employees for the salary and benefit reductions taken. Agreements have been reached with all employee associations, and staff recommends the City Council approve the side letter agreements along with City Council resolutions for unrepresented employees and a second amendment to the contract for the city manager. Staff is available to answer any questions on this item.
Okay, Council, thank you very much, Ms. Lee, for the staff report. Thank you for putting together the written staff report. Does Council have any comments on this item or questions? Any questions? Okay, let's open it up to the public.
If any of the members of the public would like to speak, please raise your hand now. And if you're on the phone, it's *6.
All right, I don't see anybody who's raising their hand. Do you, Ms. Green?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not have any.
Okay, in that case, I'm just gonna kind of pause here for a second to make sure. 1001, 1002, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, close public comment. And then let's have a motion. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to move staff recommendation.
Councilmember Marr.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Chavez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Marr. Mayor Pro Tem Marr. And so Councilmember Chavez, do you wish to speak about your motion?
I do, however, want to give Mayor Pro Tem the first bite of the apple because last time I remember the motion first, and I know she wanted to share some comments. So I'll go after her.
Everybody's yielding today. You want to go, Mayor Pro Tem?
I know we're all so polite. No, I'm excited to see this. This is part of our return to normalcy. I think that's exactly what it is last time. Actually, I'm just repeating myself here. But and there is a terrible feedback. Yeah, you guys all hearing that too?
I think if you're on mute, get on mute.
Okay.
It's probably me. I'm the only one not hearing the feedback. Sorry. Calling my.
No, this is good. This is an important step to get back to normal. All of these questions about, getting back open at City Hall, all of the questions I'm getting from developers and others about wanting to be at the counter in person. Like, this is the step that we have to take in order to get back. So I'm happy that we're doing this, and moreover, just grateful for our city management staff that we took this action when we did. I was talking about this to somebody the other day that at the time, I remember the question specifically was like, why aren't other cities furloughing, or why aren't other cities taking dramatic employee action? And we did so early, and then it was months later that we were seeing other cities start to take action in a way that just really indicated how much foresight both Ms. Molina and Ms. Farrell Harrison showed in the fairly dramatic actions that we took so early. But then more than anything, thank you to our employee groups for just working with the city management team, recognizing the severity of the issue at the time, and for the amount of figure it outness we've done over the last year, right? So thank you to all of you, and happy to start getting back to normal.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Marr, and I'll be a bit more enthusiastic about it. I just want to thank our employees. Like, you guys are why we're not in a deep red hole in Costa Mesa. Like, it's our employees, our firefighters, officers, general workers. You are the reason why our city is not in a big trouble. You're why during this pandemic, we still had the ability to provide services at an adequate level. And I just want to thank you, because when we need you the most, you guys stepped up and said, we will forego part of our salary to ensure Costa Mesa's safety. And I have always been an advocate for our employees. I know the battles we've gone through in the past, and every single time I go in City Hall and I see you guys working diligently and passionately, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I can't do that enough. And this is a great motion. We're giving back. We're gonna eliminate the furloughs, get back to normal, hopefully. And again, just sincerely on behalf of my district residents, thank you. And I'm so happy you guys are going to get normality back.
Wonderful. And the only thing I will say is I just want to circle back to the comments that I made in my council comments about this being Public Services Employee Week, and this ending of the furloughs and the reimbursement of the foregone compensation coming up this week, I think is significant. And of course, it's a coincidence, much like our 420 coincidence, but this is a happy coincidence. And I agree with everything that Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Chavez said, more eloquently than I could possibly do so. But it's just without you, I don't know where we'd be. And this is probably a lot better than a lunch. So I fully support the motion. Let's call for the question unless there are other comments.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper? Oh, I'm sorry, he's absent. Councilmember Harlan?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
Yes, I was on mustard duty the last lunch. I just walked around handing out mustard to people. It was fun.
Mayor Stevens?
That could be a good job for 2022.
Motion
right.
carries 6-0.
I didn't vote yet. I said, yeah, I got to say yes. I got to say yes. I just made a funny comment. Yes.
Okay. Motion carries 6-0-1. Councilmember Harper is absent.
All right. So the last thing we have to do, we've made it through all of our items. And now is a time for us to say anything, any other council members' comments that you didn't get a chance to say during the first go round. And it looks like we have some people that want to participate. So Councilmember Chavez, take your time. Are you, no, you're not, go, Councilmember Harlan.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Swing away.
Well, actually, I had forgotten. I was remiss in not mentioning this earlier in the evening. I just wanted to conclude by wishing all the mothers out there and soon to be mothers a very happy Mother's Day coming up, and how important it is. I also understand apparently I didn't do a stellar job last year and COVID was no excuse. So to all the children, be very kind to your mothers. And that's all.
Wow. Okay. Now I feel bad. I'm going to raise my hand. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem Mar.
Thank you. Yeah, so lovecostamesa.org. And I'm specifically leading the T. Winkle Park cleanup. We're going to be scraping tape and old balloon remnants off of the gazebo structures in T. Winkle. So if you want to come join me, there's still 9 spots left to work on my project. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, I got to say happy Mother's Day now, not only to my wife, Amy, who's really a wonderful mother and a real trooper, considering who she has to deal with as a husband, but also to my mother, Mary Ann Stevens, who's 96 years old, and she's made it through the pandemic. She's fully vaccinated, and I just got a chance to see her in her apartment for the first time 2 weeks ago. So to my mom and my wife, happy Mother's Day, and Thank you for reminding me. Councilmember Harlan, you're the best. All right, does anybody else have anything else?
No golf on Sunday, John.
Oh, no, that's not necessarily true. But I usually golf with my wife. Okay, so anyway, if nothing, and my mom can't golf. She's 96. She can carry my clubs. No, I'm just teasing. All right, anyway, we better end this meeting. We adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I did raise my hand again.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what?
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll change my background so it stands out. I couldn't figure out how to change the hand color. I just want to
change the color of the hand. It really is difficult to see. Go ahead.
Wanted to do a call out to my mom too, for fear that she calls me out for not calling her out at this moment. So happy Mother's Day to my mom, and I'll share. I'm really proud of her COVID activity. She tripled the size of her garden and is weekly giving away extra vegetables to people in need. So I'm so proud of her and love her so much, and we'll spend the day gardening with my mother. So happy Mother's Day.
Anybody else?
I'm seeing my mom on Sunday, so I'll tell these things in person because she's not watching me right now.
All right. Okay, good. We're all good. All right, everybody, thank you for a great meeting. Thank you for working so hard. Staff, thank you for everything you've done, and for the public for participating. We'll see you all and adjourn until May 18th, I believe it is.